are you?
You're great, man. Yeah, really good. Good to see you, man. How are you doing?
Good to see you. So tell me what's been going on.
To be honest, working on tons of sessions.
Great.
Tons of sessions, a load of gigs. I've had to wind back, at least for this last year, everything to do with like touring and that kind of thing.
Right, okay.
Just because I don't want to be away from home, and
yeah, exactly.
And it's hard enough. Anyway, the last thing that I can think about is getting on a tour bus. So I got involved in just like doing lots more like writing for other artists. If there was people already signed or whatever, like maybe I could consult on some of the projects or whatever. And it really worked. It was really good.
Oh, amazing.
Started to find like a bit of a niche with kind of like consulting on label projects and things. And because what I found was everything that I did with Tall Children.
Yeah.
I'd have managers and producers and like A&R people and everything all coming to me going, how did you do that thing that you did with this, and how did you orchestrate that and everything? And I'd always be saying, look, I just fucking got in there. I just fucking got in there, cracked on, bashed it together, and just see, just hope for the best kind of thing. And like they'd all be saying to me, I fucking wish our artists would do the same thing. And I just wish that they'd like get on with it and shut up and just get on socials.
It's so fun. It's so funny. Honestly, I had this conversation yesterday. I was working with this young artist from where's she from? She lives in LA, but she's from New York. She's in London for 2 months by herself. She's 21. She came across. She's like, I've come across by myself. She's not independently wealthy. She's got like she's signed to Network, so like an independent.
Network.
It's just an indie. And she's like, I'm going to take like $5,000 and I'm going to find myself a really cheap Airbnb, which she's found for like $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come to London for 2 months and I'm just going to hit people up and I'm going to ask to write.
Yeah.
So she's writing. I was writing with her yesterday, the day before, and I was like, so how did you do this? She said, I just decided I'm coming. I want to come to London. I love the London sound. I love the songs from London. That, my favorite songs are these and these and these. And I was like, fuck, this is brilliant. Exactly like you're saying. It's like, and then you meet the other ones that are the entitled ones from, whatever.
Yeah.
Signed to a major. I'm like, oh, why do I have to do social media? I don't want to go, I'm like, well, do you think that Dua Lipa or George Ezra, it's your fucking job? And also like, you can't ever. I mean, I've had it with my old band. Remember Good Cop that were on with James as well. And I had it with Ben, the singer, going, and he was like, "Oh, I've done all that toilet tour stuff." I'm like, Ben, do you honestly expect that we're just going to be like a band and then appear and go and play like, I don't know, Shepherd's Bush Empire like tomorrow? He's like, "Well, I've done all the hard work." I'm like, dude, it doesn't work like that. At this point, I'm 37 years old, right? And I'm like, oh my God, guys, we need to go and back do what we're doing when we're 20 again. And they're like, oh, I bet. And like Matt, drummer, and me were like, what to do it. And then it just got the classic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guys were just doing what they were doing, and they were being a bit precious about it.
Precious.
And it's just because I get it. I mean, I get it. You think you've done all your work, but it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And
unless you're Bono, do you know what I mean? Or like Chris Martin or Adele or Ed Sheeran. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, like I got on with a load of stuff where I was advising people, and along the way, I was doing label consultancy. I was doing like just like artist development and things like, just I mean, it basically amounted to a cup of coffee with an artist who had no idea. They just had a load of songs and they were like, what do I do kind of thing. So I'd be like, look, you need to spend money on this, or try this socials thing, or work with this producer, or that kind of stuff. And I found that somewhere along the way, I was working with students as well and teaching them and things like that. And I loved it because and I still do. I still do all that stuff.
Are you doing that over at Lipa and stuff?
Yeah, so like
Lipa,
LMA, Rowan Global Academy, did a bit.
Oh, so you're doing loads. That's great.
Yeah, loads of different things. Yeah, and I found like each one of them, they'd all come at me with the same thing. Like, well, I don't really want to do the social media. I don't want to do the pub gigs or open mics. I don't want to do any of that. All I want to do is I just want to go and work with Cam Blackwood and be signed and I'd be like,
you got to earn it.
but what the fuck? Like,
exactly. You got to earn, but the thing is, you got to earn. I don't mean earn like in a horrible, a pejorative way. I mean, like, you got, if somebody turns up at my studio and I meet them, right, and I'm really excited to meet great talent, right, I always love it.
Yeah.
And they play me songs and I'm like, you're really good, but what's going on for a start? I mean, I'll happily take stuff on a punt, but like, on like, if I love it and I think I could do something with it, that's the most, to be honest. It's like, if I think I can help you, I will. I'm not gonna do it if I don't think I can help you out, because if you're doing the kind of music that I'm not very good at, there's no point in getting involved. But like you need to tell everyone. It's not even. I'm a soft touch as far as, because I'm a producer and a writer. So and most of producers and writers are like me. They're really open musically, and if they think they can help, and it's in music that's in their lane. But like, when you have when you're going to get management, or you're going to get a record label, or you go to get a publisher, or especially now. If you don't have traction, if you don't have something going on, it doesn't have to be much. But if you don't have something going on, there's just no way they're going to pick you up, right?
Well, they just look at that. I mean, and why would they? Because
data, right?
They look at that and they think, look, you've got a kid who's a postman who writes a sea shanty and at least just gets something happening.
Exactly.
Right the way through to signing a deal, and it's like, but like, and you won't. You won't even post on TikTok.
Exactly. It's funny. It's interesting. We talk about Nathan that you're talking about there. He is exactly that. I mean, the fact that it's a sea shanty is kind of like a flash in the pan, because obviously that's like a novelty thing. But how he got there, he worked so hard. He'd never done a gig though. That was part of the problem with Nathan, was he'd never done a gig.
Right.
And he'd like, so when he was on doing stuff, he was just like, oh my God, I'm doing a gig for the first time. And it's like, okay, so he got catapulted too quickly, almost, because of social media.
Right.
So there is, so and it's really interesting that, because there is such a, I was like, how many gigs you done? He said, I've done I've done a couple of, like, to my family in the living room. I was like, a what? He said, yeah, I just posted it, and then they remixed it, and I was like, and then he got a #1 single. I was like, oh fucking hell, right, okay. So Nathan's like in a place now where he's left his label in London and going to Germany, because he's actually doing quite well in Germany.
Great.
And the Germans love a bit of cheese, and he love a bit of cheese, he's actually really talented. I've written a few times with him as well. He's a really good writer, but it's really hard for him to turn the sea shanty, the Wellerman sea shanty thing, into Nathan Evans the artist. So like, it's going to be tough for him. And maybe that's what he was here for. It was to do that, to have that, and he does still do the big festivals and stuff like that. He was at Transmit, and they love it. All that, everyone. That's going to be one of those things, like the Proclaimers.
That's it.
Everyone's going to love that song. Do you know what I mean? So, and he'll be fine. But just going back to the point about how hard he works, he sits when he's not writing or he's not on doing gigs. He's got a little girl as well now. But if he's not doing family stuff, he's literally in his he bought a house, he's got an office in his house, and he sits there, he's got a little studio set up, he's got an office, and he works, and he just plays little bits for social media, he writes ideas, he plans stuff, he just works all the time on it. Like you were just saying, like you did, you're like, how I got to there was I saw it and I did it.
Yeah, and just went straight forward.
And that's it. It's so funny, because like you do, when you, again, Ed Sheeran is a perfect example, right? I mean, that man is still the most driven artist, I think, that's probably ever been on the planet. He just saw, when he was 16 years old, he's doing Casbah gigs, or Bedford, Bedford and Balham gigs, right, with Tony Moore. And he's 16, and he's, it's like Fiona Bevan's there, who's now a big writer. She's written with him, and Jamie Lawson's there that did. I wasn't expecting that. And then all of that same time, they're all doing that on that. So on that, you go to the Troubadour, go to the Bedford, all that scene, right? And Ed Sheeran's they're all talking about Ed Sheeran like 10 years later, 12 years later. 16-year-old kids just like, I'm going to be the biggest pop star in the world. And that's all he cared about. Yeah. And he was like on stage writing these songs that made him the biggest pop star in the world. And he just decided, and he went for it. And it's kind of amazing, like, because yes, he's really talented. He doesn't have the best voice. He's not the best guitar player, but he is an unbelievable force to be reckoned with. He's a force of nature, and that is it. And and it doesn't matter how you I don't know. It doesn't matter how you frame what he is. And if you, I mean, I think he's brilliant. I mean, I don't want to speak badly of him. I would never speak badly of him. He could have curated some of his songs better, probably.
Yeah.
But like, because he sometimes puts the success over the quality of the music, but not very much. I mean, there are, you know, the A-Team is unbelievable. Lego House, unbelievable. Shape of You, unbelievable. Like, there's all the way through his career, there is 80% of the output's amazing. And
Diamonds,
then there's bits and bobs that aren't. But like, that's the same as any artist.
I was going to say that's the true of anyone, isn't it?
That's like, it is. It is, and you're never going. You're not going to hit. And I don't. So it's funny because I don't even mean hits like, you know. There's like Galway Girl was a massive hit, right? And if I was Ed Sheeran, I wouldn't have crossed that Rubicon into that.
No, I wouldn't have
level
done
that. Level of, you know, Irish pub granny music. But that's just my taste, and it was massive. So
I mean, that's what Cam, I would have done if it would have helped the old nursery bills and the bank account.
Right. if it meant another 7-bedroom house in Ipswich or whatever, do you know what I mean? Then yes, definitely you would do that. I mean, I think he's on, from what I can gather, he's on round about 100 houses now that he owns. Like,
doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
He's, you know, and do you know what? He hats off to anyone that can do that well out of music, because it's really fucking hard.
Absolutely, yeah, completely. You know? Have you ever worked with him, Cam?
Never worked with Ed. No. I've met him a couple of times with George, like the Brits and stuff with George Ezra, and I've never worked with him. Yeah. But one of the guys I know, or two of the guys I know, Jake Gosling, produced some of his first record. Jake. He does some of his first record. And then Chris Leonard, who I write with a lot, is a guitar player. He co-wrote Lego House. He's amazing. Yeah, and he's one of Ed's best friends. And then Fiona Bevan, who I write with as well. She works with him quite a lot.
Yeah, cool. I remember. Well, George did. He did podcast. He's still doing podcasts.
Podcasts, he is.
And I remember listening to the
Ed Sheeran one. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, and it was really nice to hear Ed talking about this stuff as well, where he actually reiterated some of your comments there, where it's just like, I actually, you know, there's things that I've written that I think are brilliant, and there's the other things that I kind of did, and I just have to get it out my system, you know, and I've done it. Do you find that as a producer? Do you find like you actually just try things and?
Yeah, I think it's funny, isn't it, as a producer, because like since the pandemic, I was always signed to BMG Publishing, right, for songwriting, but they're quite big, and I kind of always had my focus on production from sort of. When did I meet you? 2012? Was that 2012?
Like that. Yeah, about that. Yeah,
quite a lot, maybe 10 years ago. So like, and that was either just before or after I was doing George Ezra. So I was kind of coming from nowhere, and then did London Grammar, then George Ezra, and the George Ezra thing obviously started everything for me, like my career, and like went from being this sort of a musician and a producer and co-writer, whatever, in a band, just doing stuff, to being called a producer, right, and being paid for it.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So then I think, and answer your question, the 6 or 7 years leading up to that, into the pandemic, was more about kind of just like a rabbit in headlights a little bit, like, oh my, okay, what do I do? Because I didn't ever have, I always kind of thought, oh, I'd love to be a really successful producer, but I didn't know what that meant. And I just thought it was the same as, you know, being a pop star. It's like you get all the stuff, the free stuff, and you get lots of money. It's not like that, is it?
I'll be endorsed.
It's not like that. So I think I always thought that I was going to get, that's what it was, you know. It was like this thing where you could you could turn up 2 hours late for a session, you could go out and party and turn up and be like this guy, and like, who was like, everyone was like, oh my God. And it's like, it was just not that. Yeah. And I think that I spent a long time trying to work out what music to work on and what music to not work on. Yeah. And I think like when stuff happens that's nice, like when stuff starts to get traction on the music you're making, it's very tempting to say yes to everything, because it's really flattering that the head of Polydor will come and say hi, or the head of Island will send you an email saying, we've got this new artist, we want you to work. It's really flattering. and I said yes to a lot of that stuff that I shouldn't have said yes to.
Right.
So I think that when it comes to like trying to work out what you're doing, like creatively, I've probably got a lot more misses than I have hits. I don't mean hits like in like top tens. I just mean
I know what you mean. Yeah, like,
and like creatively, I've smashed it. I've got a lot more misses than that, and I think I would have a lot more if it not been for my management. My management are brilliant. I've been with the same manager for like 11 years, 12 years.
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
amazing. So
Jill, yeah.
Hollywood, yeah. And I've never had any misses I've had have been of my own
making
really. I think. I mean, sometimes you do stuff for when I first started with her, she said to me, "Never turn down work," right? And I was like, "Yeah, never turn down work." And then when I don't think she expected it to go so that way so quickly, because obviously George Ezra was absolutely massive in the UK at least, and actually Budapest was massive worldwide. So it became like one of those things where like every single singer-songwriter, and it's still the case, every single singer-songwriter signed in the UK to a major label, I'm asked to work with at some point. So I do Gavin James, Tom Walker, George Ezra. The only ones, Ed Sheeran's the only one that I've not. So all the other singer-songwriters, like Nathan Evans, the Wellerman, James T.W., it's literally every guy that plays acoustic guitar and sings, Jack Savoretti, every single one of them I'm asked to work with.
And that is, as you say, flattering.
Because of George Ezra. Yeah, it's because of George Ezra. But it's also like, I was never a singer-songwriter guy. I love singer-songwriter music, but I was never that guy when I started. I was always in a band. I was always in rock bands. Just so happened that I did George Ezra, made it a bit weird and sort of outside the box. And here we are. Now it's interesting. I think, I don't know if that answers your question about the creative thing, but like the movement around your mind and your soul with creativity is weird, because when you're an artist, it's the only pressure you have, which is the biggest pressure, is the public. We're the public thing, right?
Yeah.
And you can just look at the public and see the reaction and work out how to do it your way.
Yeah.
When you're a collaborator, either as a songwriting collaborator or a production collaborator, studio collaborator, you're not doing it for yourself. You are. Yeah, you creative, are, but you're not. But you're not. Machine. But your ego's not doing it for itself. So you have to take a lot of information and input, and I want to call it criticism, and I don't mean criticism by like criticism. It is criticism because it's people taking apart what you've done and trying to put it back together in the way that they think. Yeah. So taking criticism for something that you're not doing for yourself is. I sound like a whinger saying it's arguably harder, because you're trying to put so much of yourself into making it great for that other person, for the artist you're working for, that when it comes back at you, you're like, well, I'm not even doing it for me. I'm doing it for you. Fucking hell. And that is hard, and it's hard emotionally. I think I'm a lot better at it now. Lorna's amazing at it, honestly, man. She is. She goes, yeah, take it. Just take it and do what you want with it. It's fine. I find it really hard to let it go. I mean, I've had interesting when I've fallen out with record label execs, people about it, because I've been like, you are fucking this up, and the thing is, I'm my own worst enemy, because I'm dead nice until I'm not, and then I just turn into a prick, and I'm like, you are being a fucking, and I get on my high horse, and I'm like, and I send emails that are like, you probably should have sent that, mate. You know what I mean? I'm really Scottish about it, and really like fiery. So I end up sending things like, you and I are old enough to know that this is absolute bullshit, and and I know the pressure you're under from your boss, but it doesn't fucking matter. I'm not in the business of making bad music and putting bad music into the world just to get it on Capital Radio. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, I wish I hadn't sent that, but I've sent it. So you end up with this. I don't know. You end up with this. I don't know if I've ruined my reputation. I don't think I have, but there's definitely a few people that are like, nah, man, that guy's a nightmare. So, but generally, I've kept that to a minimum. I think that's happened a couple of times, but it's just the hardest thing with anything is like, this is creativity. It's like you're not doing something coming from a place of knowledge and learning and skill and you didn't go to university to learn to do that. You know what I mean? You're not like, it's not like accounting or law where there's rules.
Yeah.
And
Dentist degree or something.
No, it's not that. It is you doing something that started with nothing, didn't exist, and you took it to being this thing, and all of that was you, the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people that were involved in making that acorn of inception, which is your idea of a song when you come into a writing session, the collaborators finishing the sort of the helping you with the lyrics if need be, or the chords or the arrangement, whatever, then going into the studio, doing a demo, doing the recording, getting the musicians in, getting it mixed, getting it mastered, getting it out, all those, I don't know, 8, 10 people, whatever.
Yeah, 10 people, something like that.
Getting to there, and then somebody who doesn't have any idea how it was made says, yeah, but do you know what? I think the drums sound a bit old-fashioned. We should get them on. And you're like, oh, man, you didn't do this.
I've had that so many times.
We did this.
And you're like, were you fucking there in the session?
Yeah, exactly.
What it fucking cost?
Exactly.
You know what had to fucking happen to do this? You know?
Do you know how, like, I remember one, I don't want to name names, but one manager who I'm really good friends with a big artist, said to me, see, the thing is, Cam, they just forgot to write the chorus. I went, mate, have you ever been in a songwriting session? And he was like, no, yeah, but you listen to it. I'm like, whatever went on in that day, they think this is the best version of what it is.
Yeah.
You can never say that to an artist. You forgot to write a chorus.
Yeah.
If you can't write choruses and you can't produce music and you can't sing and you can't play, don't fucking judge it.
Don't fucking say anything.
Don't fucking say it. You can say it's not right for the market. You can say that because that's your expertise, right? And you can be a music fan and say, you can even say, I don't like the song. It's whatever. You can't say it's not good enough. You can't, because it doesn't matter if it's not good enough for whatever you want it for. That piece of art and that creativity happened on that day.
Yeah.
And you did the people in that room, whether it's 1 person, 3 people, 10 people, whatever, did the best they can for that art on the day.
For the moment, for that moment.
Because nobody's sitting there going, oh yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Because we're all paranoid fucking messes.
Yeah.
That need validation.
Yeah. It's like, no, I remember like some of the emails where you're like, I really fucking hope this guy likes it. And then like within like, and like people that you'd send stuff to, I mean, it's certainly in my experience, you probably have the same thing, but like I'd send, a demo or something to someone, or, and when I say demo, I mean like, a recorded, this cost £1,000 or something demo, and then I'd send it on to someone thinking they probably won't get back to me in 3 weeks because they never do. And like within 10 minutes, they'd come back and go, like this, but wish you'd have, put the chorus in another place, or use the bassoon on it or something like that. My instant reaction was exactly the same as yours, where I wouldn't be thinking, yeah, that's really good critique. I'd be thinking, motherfucker, like, where I want to find, where do you live?
Where do you live? Exactly. Exactly. It's so weird, man. I don't know. I mean, isn't it funny though that music, so music's like, are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Right, so music and football are really similar, right? Everyone watches their team or watches, Man City or Man United or whatever, and thinks that they're a football manager. Because they're like, I tell you what, they shouldn't have started Phil Foden on Saturday. Do you know what? Looking at that Aston Villa team, they should definitely start with Grealish. He should have been just on that inside channel. And you're like, it's Pep Guardiola is the manager. Right, and that team know what they're doing, but everyone thinks they're a football manager. It's the same as music. And as soon as so you talk to like your mates that aren't in music, like on a Saturday night, you go to you're out with your friends or whatever, and you're having a few drinks in the pub, and they're talking about, oh well, that new song, and they talk about the song you've been working with, it's a bit shit, that one, isn't it? And they're like, judge, and you're just laughing because that's what the public do, right? The public love to be experts and experts without being experts, and that's actually fine. And everyone should have an opinion on that. you put those people in a position of perceived power, as in at a record label, at a publishers, at marketing, and at radio station, who have the ability, or Spotify playlist editor,
Yeah.
they have the ability to take that song and
do things
with it.
Yeah.
It's you put that power on them, or that perceived power into them, they will have the same judgment. And they think, because they're in that power, that they've got the right to judge what the music is. Now, you could judge like a bad mix, right? I can't hear what the vocals are saying. Or the bass drum's a bit boomy, it doesn't work. That's fine, because it's
like a technical
thing, a technical thing that should
stuff.
Be better, because like when you go to, if you spent like $3,000 on a mix with somebody amazing, Spike Stent or Dan Gregg or David Wrench or whatever, right? And you spend these amazing mixes, you expect them all to be technically proficient.
Yeah.
And that's a given.
Minimum. That's like
minimum, right? Minimum is technical proficient. And then you've got the thing that's not perfect, right? The technical proficient is the main thing. Then it's just about the art, whether you love the vibe that they've created.
Do you like it?
And they've added something to the track. Yeah, exactly. So, but the first bit is a given. With the song and the production and everything, it doesn't really have. It's not binary.
And there's no right or wrong. There's no
right or wrong.
Song,
like Budapest, but Budapest by George Ezra has got no cymbals on it. Not because I'd made that choice, because I fucking forgot to put cymbals on it. Right? When it came on the radio, I went, oh my God, there's no cymbals on that song. And I was listening to Radio
amazing.
1 and there's no cymbals, and I was like, fuck, I forgot to put it on. I was like, I remembered in my head, remember to put cymbals on a big, I've got this lovely big ride cymbal that's got a sizzle, like it was
nice, yes.
I thought if I put that on it, thin it out, make it a bit like a white noisy thing, that'll be cool, because it's quite a weird track anyway, isn't it? Budapest? It's bouncing, it's a bit all over the place and a bit like multicolored and like a weird bouncy ball sort of song. And then when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, I fucking forgot to put it on. I fucking forgot to put it on cymbals. Just happens it's on like 1 billion streams now, and it's whatever that means. But like,
and no one noticed.
And no one noticed. Maybe that's why it's so big, because there's no cymbals on it, and everybody actually hates cymbals, and nobody's told.
Yeah, but this is it there now, Cam. Now this is done. I'm going to put this out there, and people start going, there's no fucking cymbals on that.
No cymbals. Yeah, I know. They're going to start using those cymbals, exactly. That's mad, isn't it?
Fucking hell. That's incredible, though. That's I definitely think happy accidents like that is kind of how you come to that. Like I mean, I remember, in fact, bringing Ed Sheeran back, I remember seeing I can't remember who the co-writer was or whatever, but he was in an interview and he said, Shape of You, I had absolutely no intention or no idea where that was going. I just kind of wrote something in the moment. It was good. And then here we are. And it's probably one of the most successful songs of my entire career. And I remember thinking, yeah, but he's right at the top of the tree, and like, not, he doesn't know. He has no idea what's
was it Steve Mack?
What isn't, and
was it Steve Mack?
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
because Steve wrote the ding, 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 ding. He wrote that part. Yeah. Steve also wrote the synth hook at the end of Leave a Light On by Tom Walker. The he wrote that as well.
Great.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing at musical. Steve is literally the greatest pop producer in Britain, because he takes whatever the artist is, and he puts the British pop hat of the month, whatever that is, on that artist, and it's always A-list at Capital Radio. Everything.
Interesting.
Like if the artist is ready to go there, if the label are ready to go there, that's what Steve does amazingly. He literally says like, whatever's happening right now on radio, or whatever's happening this year, whether it's tropical house influence pop, or whether it's rap pop, or whether it's got a grime influence, whatever the influence is, he will take the sounds, the parts, the vibe, and he will find a way to have a song, to get the artist to deliver a song that he can put that vibe into and start the career. He's amazing at it. It's inside out how I would do it. But it's
I was going to say,
amazing skill.
How would you describe how would you describe what you do then? As like your thing.
I don't mean my 5 fingers here, right? If these little things here on my hands, right, my 5 fingers here are what the artist is really good at, right, and the gaps are what they can't do. I'm the my other hand filling in the gaps of the fingers. So I try to find an art, like if an artist is an amazing lyricist, but struggles with melody in a writing session, I'll work on the melodies with them, the shapes of the melodies with them. If they are an amazing guitar player with chords and the great melodies, but lyrically they're just not, the brain doesn't work that way, I'll help them with that, whether I get co-writers in as well or whether I do it myself, whatever, I'll help them with that. When on a production level, I'll be like, what do you want? And they're like, I want it to sound like, I don't know, randomly, a 1998 DJ Shadow album. I want the drum. I'm like, okay. So I'll listen to that and I'll be like, right, okay. And I'll have a meeting with them about it. We'll talk about it. We'll have a Spotify reference list. And I'll be like, right, we need to find the parameters of what you want to do. Steve Mack does singles and does that. I can't do that. I can't take one-offs. And they're like, can we try out a song with you? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not being a dick. I'm not about the money. I need 3 or 4 songs, and I need the pressure to be taken off the artist to deliver a huge single, because I need to know what they actually are and what the heart of them is and how I can create it. So the latest thing I've done, I'm currently halfway through JP Cooper's album for Island, right? Now he's an artist who's got 2 songs that are in the billion stream camp, right? So Perfect Strangers, which is a Jonas Blue duet thing, not duet, feature, and September Song, which has got, I think, it's over the platforms, is over 1 billion streams.
Yeah,
right?
It's over 1 billion, something like that.
So he's like, but those songs are really capital radio pop, right? And but the songs are, but the productions are, right? So he came to me, and he's in his 30s now, so he's like, I don't want to be like doing, like, I don't want to be making music. I don't want to be making music. Yeah, I don't want to be making music where that I'm trying to talk to a young audience when I'm older than them. It just feels disingenuous. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel real if he's not talking about what artists like. Obviously, artists like to talk about what's real to them. So he came to see me and he said, here's a load of demos. And I was like, oh wow, okay. And we talked about stuff, and I was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to make like a record that I'm really proud of. I said, well, what would you love? He's like, I love soul music. I love gospel. I want to make I said, and he was like, I was like, do you want it to be organic? He's like, I want to be organic but still have modern elements. I was like, which is everyone would always hopefully say, because you don't want to be making a record that sounds exactly like a Stax record, exactly like a Motown record, because that's like pastiche, and you don't you want to take influences from all that, but you want to make it sound contemporary because you want to have
and something new.
And young people liking it, and something new and interesting, it doesn't have to be like reinventing the whole wheel, but it's something interesting. So I said to him, and he was like meeting 4 or 5 different producers. This is in May, and he was like, all right, I've got 3 or 4 people to still see, and he was talking to like, other producers that Island had put him in touch with. I said, and he said, well, what do you think? I said, well, the only thing that I would say that I would like to do with this project is to take a live band, like a 5 or 6 piece live band, go to a recording studio, record all the songs as a live band, sounding cool and old fashioned, and then sample the band and make our own samples, with our own guitar parts, with our own loops, with our own drums, make our own samples to then put the record together. And he was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. 20 minutes after he left the studio, he phoned me and said, I've cancelled all my meetings, I want to do the record. And only because it was the idea of what I was giving him, an idea or something. I wasn't saying we're going to make a record that's going to be like this, like this, like this.
Yeah, or like, fit into this category. I was
just excited about the idea that we would go for a week to record with a band, which is never done. And then we'd come to my studio and my home studio as well, and we'd have samplers, we'd pull it apart, we'd put it back together, we'd add extra bits to it, we'd loop bits, we'd keep whole sections, we'd mix whole bits of band into the background of things, all of that, and he was just excited about that. So that, I think that is as important when an artist is asking you for your help. It's as important to give to sell the artist a dream of what they can do.
Yeah.
right? Because if they'd never thought of going to, we ended up going to Torag Studios, right, which is where Liam Watson has got his Grammys for doing White Stripes, right?
Yeah.
And there's no computer in there; it's tape machines. So we've recorded 16 songs so far on a 1-inch 8-track tape. Wow. So bass drum, snare, overhead, bass DI, acoustic guitar, electric guitar.
That's so cool.
Hammond and mono piano.
Wow, that's so cool.
At the same time.
Wow,
right?
That's amazing.
And that's it. So then we had to go to FX Rentals to get it transferred from the tapes onto Pro Tools so I could work on it and sample it. And then I used my old MPC 60 from the 80s, which is the hip hop sampler, the grey one. All those amazing sort of late 80s, early 90s hip hop records, old school hip hop records are all produced on that. So it's because of the MPC swing that's on it. So I've sampled it in there, the loops, or sampled the kick drum, sampled the snare drum, sampled the claps, sampled guitar loops, sampled bass licks, whatever, and done it all, half of it through that, and then put it into Pro Tools and
nice.
So it's a really interesting sounding record because, and you know, I guess if you think of the contemporaries of that would be like Leon Bridges, Michael Kiwanuka, all that's the kind of world we're in, right?
Yeah.
So it's major label, but it's creative indie, cool.
Yeah. You're like on the way to Sam Smith and all of, and Red Wolf and all that kind of stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you know Leif Volbeck. But a bit more in that one, but it's still, the songs aren't as indie as those songs. The songs are really still really well written pop songs. So we've got these songs that are presented in a way that is slightly, it's not even left of centre, just slightly not as on the nose pop wise as he'd done previously, or as you would expect from a major label artist. So, but that, I guess that's a long way round me saying the how identifying what the artist doesn't have or doesn't know about, and offering them that. Offering them that as my expertise. Now the thing is, some artists like JP is an unbelievable singer. He's an unbelievable musician as well. He's a better drummer than the drummer we had, right? Or as good a drummer. And he's brutal on like feel and all that. He's a real musician's artist. He's never been allowed to be that before. So as I've said to my manager when we started working together, and his manager and the label, I was like, JP has the answers. I don't have to come up with any arrangement answers, solutions. I don't have to come up with any solutions. I don't have to. I don't have an artist going, I don't know. And I'm like, and the hardest thing is when an artist says, I don't know.
Oh man, like, that's
because then you're in a position where you're trying to put yourself in their shoes to make a decision.
And you set yourself up for what you were saying before, where you put your ideas out there, and then someone comes back and says, "Oh, I don't like this," and you think, "Well, they never had the fucking ideas in the first place, and I put mine in, and you don't like them."
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the thing that's really hard about that is that if it works, the artist gets all the credit, gets the credit, which is fine because that's the job, right?
Of course.
If it doesn't work, it's your fault. And I'm like, but I was only doing it because the artist didn't have the answers. So now that's a really good point. Now I generally I have to meet an artist 2 or 3 times before I decide to work with them.
I didn't, because I would get sort of sent most of it hearsay, just like, you should work with this is great, sign to this, or is about to be signed to this, or even if it's just like, this is a nobody, but that it's a really exciting project, you should chat, you should work and everything. And I'd be like, great, let's just like start something, let's see what it is. And then like you go down the line and you realize they're just totally unwilling to like, have you worked on that idea, or have you thought of any lyric ideas? No, I've got nothing, and I'm not in any intention of getting anything. You should do it all, or or no, I haven't really posted anything lately, or I've not done a gig, or I've not done, and all that stuff, and it's too hard. It's too hard to work with. It's like I'm going to adopt more of your
I think
first.
More. The thing is, it's also, if you're both jumping up and down at the sound of the ride in one of the on that Coming Home track by Leon Bridges, or you're listening to the groove on like an Uncle track from 1999, and you're listening, that's like this amazing soul groove that that DJ Shadow's produced on, and you're like, oh my God, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
He's taken like, how's he done that? Or you're listening to the guitar sound of Bang Bang by Nancy Sinatra, right? That beautiful fuzzy, like tremolo guitar. It's just guitar on the left and vocal. And you're like, how's that amazing? Like, if you're both in that world and the label are on board with you being in that world, it's fine. It's fine, because as long as you're both not going here, and it's not a rabbit hole, because hopefully you're keeping everyone involved, but like, as long as everyone's bought into that idea and they go, oh my God, it's amazing, then you're winning.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And at that point, it's good.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it is a ball of anxiety.
Well, you just get you're in a team of people. You know, my so you were saying about a football analogy before. My analogy is a bakery. I see it as like, the artist comes in and they've got the recipe for like sausage rolls. They've got something that's like, I want to make this thing. And then you come along and you say, okay, I've got the equipment and I can make all that. And then this guy here, he packages it. And then this guy here, he manages the shop, and we can put it in that window and we can put it here. But if you've got something where he's trying to make a sausage roll and he's trying to package a cheese pasty and you're trying to market, something else, then it's like, what are we doing here? And the whole thing just will die. It doesn't matter what you're working on. It's like, and I've had that conversation so many times where I'm actually at the point where I'm almost like a pasty salesman, because I'm like literally talking to people about, right, the pasty's got to be this, the cheese, and like they go, can we do some fucking music, Ben?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, I'm so adamant now, where it's like, look, we all have to be on the same page, right the way through to like the person who finances it, to the person who's making it and the person wwho's marketing it. We all have to understand what the roles are and what we're doing and what we're making, just what are we making, and I totally agree. Like, when that's in line and everyone's just like, oh yeah, we're making these sausage rolls and they taste like this.
Yeah,
it's undeniable. It's just, it's almost it's not a done deal, but it's as best as shot and as good a chance as you're ever going to get to make something.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Exactly. The thing, if all of that's in place, it then allows you to make the music really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think that whatever you say about creators and collaborators, everybody does want to make the music good. Everybody wants to make it as good as they possibly can. And I think if you don't, and you're only caring about one thing, because then you're doing damage to music. I don't know, because I have a friend that does data from the he's like a data analyst person, and he understands how Google and all that stuff's work. He's a geek, and he lives in Canada. But he said to me, because he's a really smart guy and he understands it all. He says he gets approached a lot by people saying, can you get this information, get this information, get this information. It's basically, he knows how to strip data from everywhere and get all the data he wants. And he says, when they ask him for certain things, he says no. He says, I really believe in the sanctity of the internet and that it's a force of, it should be a force of good, and I don't want to damage the internet. That's what he said. And I'm like, that is actually and that struck with me, because I was like, that's how I feel about music. It's a really important thing. It's like, and and I haven't always, I've always thought that, but there, as I said to you before, there have been times where I've like, I've not made that very good. I've really. If people are listening to that,
I need to pay the gas bill, mate. So
I know.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. But you just gotta try and make sure that you stay attached to the feeling of making good music.
Defo. Do you think there's a lot that to be said that, because obviously the production journey is similar to, but not the same as the artist journey and so on, but they're all deeply related. But I always come across time and time again, whether it's a student or an artist or whatever, that thing of like being resilient throughout all of it. And just, I mean, Lorna was talking a lot about how hard some of the artists have to work, and it's like day in, day out, they're just like, there's just absolutely no time anymore for, that kind of party culture. I mean, there is, but within reason, there's like that party culture of like, yeah, we're signed, let's just go and blow it all now is kind of non-existent because
doesn't exist.
It's kind of, there's just so much to do now with like social media and interviews and whatever else and stuff. But you know, and we were talking loosely on you know, trying to just get your head in the right space for all that to try to stay above the water. You know, do you find any of that, you know, yourself? And
I mean, I think it's a very different being an artist, and if you are lucky enough to become a very successful artist, oh my, I don't think you can give me enough money to do that, because it is brutal, and you are basically like being shot at the whole time, right? Because everybody loves, especially in England or Britain, they love to shit you down. They love to tell you, you know, love to put you on a pedestal and then break the pedestal
and then destroy you,
and destroy you, right? And that actually sounds quite conspiracy theory-esque. It's not.
I'm cynical, but
but you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying.
But that's just human nature. They love that. If you know, if a big pop star did, you know, look what's happened to Russell Brand, right? Sorry, what's I don't mean what's happened to him. How his actions in the past have now affected where his standing is, right?
Today. Yeah, where he is today. Course. Yeah.
I have no. It's awful what's happened to those women if that's true.
That's what of course.
It's that's dreadful. So I think for an artist it is unbelievably hard, and you have to be bulletproof, and when you get to that massive level, a Taylor Swift, a Dua Lipa, and Adele or whatever, you have to be protected and protecting yourself. However you do that. I think I am not bulletproof, very much not bulletproof, and that goes back to my sending emails to people and being, because, and you know, as I remember Ryan, George Ezra's manager, saying to me, he said, "Fucking hell, Cam, you go through the seven stages of grief every time I send you feedback on a song." I'm like, that's because it's my baby. I've fucking worked. I've spent like Shotgun. Like Budapest was a couple of days, but Shotgun took 7 months to get that together.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So to get that version, and it was awful. It was the worst time of my entire life, probably.
Right.
Apart that and making Jack Savoretti's last record, because they made up. Well, not they. The record label made all the wrong decisions.
Right.
On an artist that was fucking doing so well, doing what he was doing, and I was like, we keep on doing that. Are you sure you want to do that? And they were like, no, we want to. And I was like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
The wrong thing. Yeah. But yeah, and again, and I take all that really, really personally. I think now, in answer to your question, I am more resilient because I started songwriting a lot more in lockdown, and I started making my own music again, which I hadn't done for a long time, since George Ezra hadn't made my own music. So I'd done from 2013 to 2020 without making my own music. And I'd always done my own stuff, whether it was being in bands or whether it was just making beats or I love I make techno now. So I take time every year to make techno tracks. They go up, 50,000, 100,000 streams. They're nothing. They're not money making in any way.
Yeah, but it's
a creative outlet. So it allows me to put it out. I have like a couple of record labels that put stuff out for me, just like as I say, techno labels.
Yeah.
And it allows me to put it out the way I want it to be, with no interference, with no feeling of judgment on it, because it just goes out. I do a mix, put it on SoundCloud, maybe 200 people listen to it. Like do a DJ mix, and that's it, and that is fine. And I think that doing that is diverts some of my emotional need from making other people's music into that music, and that almost offsets because when you're not making your own music as a creator and you're working for everyone else, all you're doing is trying to get validation for the stuff that you've done with them, but you might get a bit of credit. I'm not saying you don't get credit. As a songwriter and a producer, you do get credit. And it's not really about the credit. It's more about all the bullshit that goes around with it. And then it's out of your control and you haven't done anything. And you're like, okay, that's out of my control now. It's not what I want it to be, but you have to let it go. So that's where resilience has to come in. But I think, as I say, rather than me becoming hard and resilient about it, which I think is impossible for me as a human because I'm just a big softie, I offset it by making my own music and
The
putting
outlet,
my own,
yeah.
having an outlet of my own, yeah. And it's like, take, probably 2 weeks at the end of this month. I'll hopefully be clear of all the work I've got to do before I go back in with JP to finish off the record before the end of the year. And that 2 weeks, maybe I'll spend a day watching the 3 new Star Wars again, or Batman, or Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, something like that for a couple of days because I'm tired. I'm like, I just want to do that and chill and eat pizza and do that.
Yeah.
But then I'll probably spend a few days on, if you see behind me, but I've got a full analog.
Yeah, I was just looking before.
Full analog techno modular
incredible
setup with 909s and 303s and loads of modern stuff as well, and loads of synthesizers all over in the corners.
Yeah. So
like I'll probably just spend a few days making a couple of tunes because I've got some ideas that I've been working on in my head in the car on the way to work. So I'm like, I'll just do that. And that's fine.
Nice.
And that's fine. So, you know what I mean? I think that's the
taking time for yourself. Taking time
for your own creativity, for your own sake,
Yeah.
And I think that, I remember having a conversation with Paul Epworth a few months ago. We were at the Music Producers Guild Awards, and I only ever see other producers really either at the MPG Awards or the Music Week Awards.
No one ever leaves the studio.
No one ever leaves the studio, or
like
or if they do leave the studio, you maybe I used to do parties, but everybody's got older and has got families now and stuff. So, I used to do a studio party on a Friday night. There'd be A&R producers, artists, engineers, and musicians just come down and have a party at the studio. Yeah. And Paul used to do the same. Paul Epworth used to do the same, but he doesn't anymore. But I remember talking to him and saying, I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm not doing. He said, don't ask that boring question. I went, I'm being asked a boring question about work. And it was James Ford was there as well, the three of us chatting. And then James is doing I'm about to do Blur. I've just done that to Monkeys. I'm doing my own record. And Paul's like, I'm so fucking bored of this because it's always the same question. I'm like, I just wanted to know how you're getting on. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. He says, I want to spend more time with my family. I've done it. I've done 12, 13 years of working. I think Paul's he did Maximal Park was the first big album he did. Then he did Silent Alarm by Block Party. I think that's 2008 or 9. So, or maybe 8. And then 2009 he did Florence and the Machine, Rabbit Heart. And then he did Adele. Right, so he's in the top 20 producers in the world easily. James Ford, probably top 40 or 50 producers in the world as well. So they are... Paul had done it for longer than even than I had that period of 7 years of just like, and mine was I never got to the success that he's had. But his 15 years of doing it, by the end of it, he's like, fuck this. He did his own album. Yeah, fuck it. He did his own album for Columbia, and it took him so long to make it that the album that he wanted when he started wasn't the album that he ended up with.
Wow.
So, and then when I was like, because we were just talking about exactly this, and I was like, man, you just gotta do it for yourself. And that's when James Ford was like, I'm making my own album and I'm singing on it, because he was also one half of Simian Mobile Disco, so he's always had an outlet as making dance music, but unfortunately his partner in that band is unwell, so James is doing his own singer-songwriter project. But I'm excited to hear that, because it was like, God, James is going to be singing, and the guy's an amazing creator, he's an amazing producer and songwriter, so it's going to be great regardless, I'm sure. But I think anyone that does this job needs to, as a producer or an artist, needs to expect that it's going. If things start to go a little bit well, it's going to get very busy, very stressful, very quickly. Yeah, and it's just trying whatever you can do to mitigate
and just manage it.
Like don't go out partying every night. Don't do loads of coke. Try and go to the gym. Try and be healthy at least once or twice a week. Try and be healthy. Go to bed. Drink enough water. I mean, I drink coffee all the time. I shouldn't, but I don't even drink enough water. But try to not drink booze all the time. Try to not smoke all the time. Try to not do loads of gear. Try to not hide away from what it is you're doing. Just try and face it. And it's hard, but try and be organized. Plan the shit you got to do. Because otherwise, you're just in a world of like, oh my God, I've got too much to do and never. Oh my God,
I've got so much to do.
And never getting it done.
I was going to say, just to kind of sum it up, a lot of people, they always ask me about how do you go into the artist thing? How do you speak to a manager? How do you speak to an agent? How do you, whatever? And I find that my answer to that is always just like, look, from the second you picked up a guitar, you're in the industry. You're in. There is no kind of, like we were saying before. There's no. It's not a dentist surgery where you graduate and you do that and then you get to the next level, whatever and stuff like that. For people looking to get into production in particular, would you have any particular tips or anything that you go like, start here, try this, do that? Anything that's of value.
It's really interesting because that's a brilliant question, and I'm trying not to make a long answer of it. It's kind of multifaceted in a way, because there's the technical thing of what you need to do, which is pick a medium in which you're going to work. By that I mean, are you going to be pretty much solely on the computer like most people are, or are you going to try and have some microphones and record stuff yourself, make your own samples, whatever. Work out what it is that you love. Don't make it so small that it's, I only want to do dance music. I only want to do pop music. But like, listen to loads of stuff. Do you know what this is? And I'm going to rip this from the guys from Disclosure. Listen to all your favorite records and try to replicate them.
Yeah.
When you're doing a production, right? So if you're with a singer-songwriter with an acoustic guitar, and you love Leonard Cohen, and you love Simon and Garfunkel, and you love
James Taylor,
Taylor, Elliott Smith, right? Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Replicate that, right? Try and say, because if you're trying to do something completely outside the box and different, without trying to replicate something, people won't understand what it is. So your job as a producer really is it's get the technical bit right, as I say, choose the right computer or the right preamps, whatever it is. But your job is to take what that artist is and show either management or public or record label the best version of that artist. So like, and that usually means make it as recognizable as something. So if you want to make it feel like a 60s thing, you put a big spring reverb on it. Or a plate reverb on it. If you want to make it feel really modern, you put loads of top end on it, loads of compression. That's simple, right? So you work all the way through that and go and look at YouTube videos on how to do that. If you want to know how to do a vocal that sounds like Dua Lipa or Miguel or whatever that, just find that. Get the technical stuff right. That's all, and that's what they call in like art terms, like that's your practice. So you practice your art when you are developing past being at school, or you leave school or you leave uni, whatever, and you're developing into a professional, as it were. You practice, they call it your practice. So you practice that, you get as good as you can on the thing, work out. Don't say I'll work with every single kind of artist, because you never get good at it.
Yeah.
And you don't worry about mixing, because you got to be good enough, but don't worry about spending all your time on mixing unless you want to be a mixer. If you decide you want to be a mixer, do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but don't worry about learning how to. If you can't play piano particularly well, but you want to be a producer, decide if you want to be a piano player or a producer. If you play piano really well and then you decide to be a producer, great. You're a producer that plays piano really well. But if you're a producer and you want to be a producer, but you're like, oh, I want to practice piano, don't go and spend 3 hours a day being a piano player.
Yeah.
Because you won't be spending the 3 hours a day being a producer, which you need to be spending being a producer. All that technical stuff, right? Take that away. That's the thing. The doing it, the getting to be known as a producer, is literally finding people doing it for nothing, if you can afford it, and making stuff that's good.
Yeah.
Find art. Go to music schools. Go to if there's any gigs going. I know in Liverpool there's loads of gigs, right?
Yeah.
London is.
Yes.
It's done, right? We just come back from Lauren and I just came back from Nashville, 2 weeks writing in Nashville, right? And I go every year. It's amazing, and everywhere you go in Nashville, there's gigs.
Yeah.
The centre of town has got 60 or 70 bars on Broadway, the main street. And at 10:30 last Monday morning, we got a session, a writing session cancelled on the Monday. And 10:30 we went down the Broadway and we were having beers at the bar, watching a band play at 10:30 on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
And it was half full, and everyone was singing along and partying.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. That is why it's called Music City. Yeah. Because there's literally 70 bands on that one road. And then every night there's like 100 gigs in Nashville or more.
Yeah.
It's only the size of Liverpool. Nashville is
it's tiny, isn't it?
650,000 people, same size as Liverpool, same size as Glasgow.
Wow,
right?
Wow.
Amazing. So you don't expect, so like, so maybe it's more difficult in London to do that, but if you can find, you know, even go on, find people on that are in your, if you're in Stoke and you're going to your local area, go to TikTok and put on Stoke music and see if there's any young people playing guitar and singing or piano and singing. And if you're a producer and you want to help them out, ask them. You never know, because what might happen is you might do a bit of music, they might, that and record it really beautifully. They might use their own visual with the music you've recorded and get 100 million views on TikTok.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you've got a piece of music that, like Casey Gregson McLeod, which is half-finished song that gets signed to a major label that then is, oh my God, this is amazing. Puts the song out, it's got 50 million streams or whatever it's on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And catapults the career. Yeah.
And that's she started. Now, it might not be that artist that it gets, they might go to someone else and finish the career for someone else, but you still got a foot in the door and you will still get people saying, oh, you did that. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And then you start getting paid. And at that point, you can get a manager. Yeah. And then a manager will help you get paid and everything. You need to kind of understand not the full business of it, because nobody needs to have an MBA in music to understand it, but you kind of need to understand the different income streams. So you can go into like UK Music and find out all the information on where you get paid if you're a musician, on, you know, if it gets played on the radio, if it gets played, if it's streaming, if you're a producer, what you're entitled to and your points, how you get paid. All that information is really handy to know so you don't get shafted.
Yeah, definitely. And PRS and PPL and blah, blah, blah.
PRS, PPL, MCPS, all that stuff. But there's loads of acronyms that get quite scary if you don't know about them. So UK Music, go to UK Music website and all the information you will ever need is there. And if you want a grant for something, there's information on local grants, on grants for socioeconomic grants. There's grants for women in music. There's grants for non-white people in the UK to get funding, and it's at a local level and a national level. It's difficult because the government never make it easy to get money, but you can go to UK Music. You'll find lots of, and charities like Youth Music. There's loads of great stuff out there. The biggest problem that all these organisations have is that people don't know about them.
Yeah, of course.
So now go and find out. We'll just try and find out if you look. It's like local funding in Walthamstow. Walthamstow local council are actually really good, because I did a thing ago. I did a thing a few weeks ago about them, and they're really into the music. So like, if you say you're in Walthamstow, or you're in Liverpool, or you're in Stoke, as I say, or Crewe or whatever, go and look up anything that's there, and find out any information you can from local music charities. You might be able to do a course on a synthesizer course for free, because it's a charitable thing. Yeah. All that stuff is so important to be able to do. Practice and practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
But don't ever think that the world owes you a living, because you might get really good and nobody's ever going to use you. But the only way to do it is to just do it. And don't worry about asking people for thousands of pounds to do it, because nobody's going to give you thousands of pounds unless you're really, really good.
And that's it.
Until they know who you are. So do it for, you might say, the reason I say about the funding is because one of the most difficult things that I'm seeing right now is that people from a low socioeconomic backgrounds, across all diversities, I don't just mean like white or people of ethnic origin or anything like that, or women or trans or gay or whatever. I don't mean that. I mean like anyone of a lower from a socioeconomic background finds it really, really hard to do what I'm saying, because they don't have enough money. The parents don't have enough money, or they don't have enough independent money to not be paid. Yeah. So that's why it's that's why it's really important. And the government, we don't have a Labour government. We'll have a Labour government next year. We didn't have a Labour government for the last 13 years. So you don't get help with housing. You don't get help with, you can't go get a part-time job and get 50 quid a week to help while you're learning to be a musician. That doesn't exist. It does in Canada. It does in Sweden. It does in Denmark. It does all these places. And Finland. These places are amazing, because art is revered as something that's really important. Is valued. It's not in the UK with Conservative government, because they only care about the STEM subjects of science, technology, engineering, and maths, right? It's all they care about. English, maths, and it's really English is great. If you want to go to, one thing about being a songwriter, if you want to go and do a degree in English, because that's the one thing that's really, 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 really good for you. Because if you read all the poems and all the prose and all the plays and all the movies and learn all the songs that you ever, well, not, you know, in your degree, you'll become better at writing lyrics.
Do you know, also really as well, when you get, you know, in one of those heated moments, you can write a really loquacious email with a fuck ton of really great vocabulary that's going, fuck you, where's my...
Yeah, exactly. but it can be really well written. Exactly.
But it can be really well written. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It can be on point. The reason I say about socioeconomics, the funding thing is, if you go, as I say, to UK Music and look at all the youth music, all the local charities that can help with funding, you can get grants, even if it's £100, £200, to help you buy equipment and to help pay for things. Right? You can apply for grants at Youth Music. You can apply for grants at PPL. You can apply for grants at PRS, MMF. All of these places will give you little amounts of money to help you out if you can't afford to do it. Right? And it's really, really important that people from low socioeconomic backgrounds don't stop doing music, because they've arguably got more to say than somebody who's from privilege.
Yeah, completely.
Right? Because nobody really wants to hear how nice it was to get dropped off by mummy in the Range Rover at private school. You know what I mean? What people want to hear is a story of someone who had a really hard, like Sam Fender. Do you know what I mean? What poverty and toxic masculinity and alcoholism and drug abuse, what they do to
confront it and get out of it.
Confront it and get out of it. That's why grime and drill and rap are so viscerally important to music, because you might hate that they come from gangs, but the reason they're making music is to try and get out of the gang. Mm-hmm. It's not because they're trying to glorify being in a gang. The reason they're talking about being in a gang is because that's all they know, because that's the world they come from. They're not glorifying it, they're just talking about their real shit. When you listen to, like, when you watch the Compton, which is all about NWA, right, you see that Ice Cube, the anger in which he's talking about the police when he says fuck the police straight out of Compton, he's not trying to incite a riot. No, he's really pissed off that every day he's getting stopped by white and sometimes black officers in the early 90s and frisked for no reason, because he's not a drug dealer, but they think he's a drug dealer, right? So that's the reality of it. So it's so important for people, it's important for the government, which they're not going to do until maybe they will with the Labour government, hopefully. Until they wake up. Until they wake up. But, like, hopefully it's really important for people to know that there is funding out there and to not just stop making music because they can't afford it. If you need a part-time job, fine. Work in a bar 3 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday afternoon. The rest of the time, work Monday to Friday, get up at 9, work till 3 or 4 every day. See if you can get a grant for $2,000, $3,000 to allow you to do some music and to allow you to get some artists and do some recordings. Yeah, that's great advice. That's the really, only really thing I would say. Yeah, because nobody's going to find you. Either that or use the internet for your own music if you're an artist. But if you want to be a producer, you need to find artists to work with, because if you're not the artist, you're not an artist. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Amazing, Cam. Thank you so much, mate. You're very welcome. Really I don't even realise that we've been chatting for so long. I know. I literally just saw then. Yeah, no. We need a beer next time. But yeah, we definitely do. I haven't seen you for so long. Yeah, definitely. It was lovely to see you, Ben. Lovely to see you, man. Lovely to see you, mate. Yeah. I really appreciate it. You're welcome. Take care, mate. Take care. Big love, mate. Bye bye.